afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zehra Naqvi, and I'm the Senior Research Associate at South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. This event is being held in observance of Human Rights Day, a day dedicated to promoting and protecting the rights of individuals, regardless of their background, ethnicity, or status. The issue we are addressing today are very particular and pressing. Minority communities across the South Asia face systematic challenges, including social exclusion, violence, discrimination, and marginalized. These issues often unchecked due to the lack of sufficient and legal protection. So today, Leslie Martin from India. So let me give a brief overview of our speaker, Leslie Martin, a Dalit human rights activist and social justice advocate from India. Leslie has been worked to raise awareness about the caste and gender-based violence and has been forefront of the grassroots of activism. His dedication to social justice has helped empowering many individuals and communities in need. Leslie, thank you for joining us today on such a short notice, and thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Now, I would like you to share your views.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this webinar on the eve of International Day of Human Rights. I thank you very much for this thinking process that which CRM has gone through, and the importance of human rights, international human rights, is significant day in which we all celebrate the international human rights. But let me come to the South Asian minorities' rights. The South Asian minority rights. Before coming to that, let me tell you about me. I'm a Dalit human rights defender, and I have been involved in this work in the field of Dalit human rights work for about more than 30 years. And initially, I was from a village. I didn't know about my caste, and as a child, when my friends used to call me by my subcaste name, I used to defend it by religion. And that's how it went on for about about 25 years age. They tell me about my caste, subcaste, and I will be denying that by using my religion identity. And this has churned me a lot inside. Why they are degrading me, dehumanizing me, my own friends, my own classmates. And I was like, how I almost accepted the caste-based system unconsciously. And this was shocking to me, that when I started working on caste-based discrimination in '94, when I met my identity with myself, an opportunity came in an organization called Prajula in Chittoor, where Paul and Annie were running the movement. And I was appointed as a computer operator. I was the only person who knows English in my small town. And as I was narrating whatever the Paul and Annie were telling me, then a lot of churning started in me about my own identity of caste, how I used to hide it behind my religion identity. And that's how I began to realize my identity. And once Bejwada Wilson, at that moment, the Manual Scavenging Rehabilitation Act came in '93. And he was talking to me, and he said, a survey is going to take place in '94, and I had to meet the manual scavengers who will come and give me data. So I was like a person, like on-time person, punctuality and office timings. I was very young. And at that moment, when the person who was coming to me by to give me the data, he used to come at evening 4:30, and 5 o'clock my office closes. And I used to get angry with him, but I never showed my anger, and I welcomed him. After few days, when he was coming every day at 4:30, and he will be opening his lunch box ready by 4 o'clock in the morning to come to the main road to catch a transport, whichever takes him to the nearest main road. And he will may get bikes or cycles during 94, 95 days. And he may get a tractor and whatever the transport that is available, he will catch and he will reach the main road. And again, he will travel by lorry to his location. And by the time he reaches the location, it will be 5:30. And at that moment, manual scavengers will be going on for work in the town.
Hmm.
And when he went and tried to meet them in person, they were afraid of him. And whether we don't know him and he's trying to come and meet us, what we'll ask, we are lower caste, we are already dehumanized, we are doing this work. And that's how the thinking, by the time he meets them, it will be 11 o'clock. And when they open up their mouth, they'll be of suspicion on him. Why he has come, why he wants to meet us, and what is the purpose of him meeting us. And because till that moment, they were not even realized in the town, in a small town, they were realized as manual scavengers on. And when the person introduced himself, he's also from the same community. And then they started telling their story. And that's how I was, my spine started getting shivering. I had a very great shock in listening to that. Then I just I broke my boundaries of timings. Then whenever he used to come and bring the data, I used to be ready for him to type in English. First he will tell in Telugu, and that I have to translate in English. So that's how my identity got realized. And like these kind of subcasts were there in all over Asia. So then it started as a work, and then we advocated with Amnesty International during 94, 95, and we used to bring it to the Amnesty International, another organization called Imadar was there, and no one was willing to take it up. And the government introduced a law in 1998, and so based upon that law, the atrocity cases started getting recognized, and the rules came in 1996. So that's how I started my journey. I was documenting, and I met so many thousands of survivors of atrocity cases, and I had to interview them for bringing out their stories in newspapers. And during those days, no newspaper was willing to publish the news of atrocity case. So then, and it was also hard for me to get the information from the survivors in their own village. Sometimes they'll speak, sometimes they'll stop speaking if someone comes in their way, or sometimes they'll ask me to come in another day, and they'll come to another village, and there they'll be comfortable in telling their stories. So that's how, in getting to know about the incident and how we advocated and what is the stage we are into. And then after 30 years of my advocacy work, I suddenly thought, due to my health grounds, I said, let me stop this work of Dalit human rights. And at that time, it was a turning point for me where a lot of grief, I was afraid to even to go to public, and after the corona, and I don't know what was happening to me. And at that moment, for about 6 months, because the doctors told me that I should not even think about the work, I should not even think about Dalit movement. And so suddenly something opened up within me. I came to understand that the grief that I am carrying is the grief that so many Dalit victims, Dalit survivors have told me their stories, and that is going to be buried with me. And how to bring out their stories. And I need to survive myself. I need to open up my voice. So then I started realizing that how important this Dalit human rights work as a minority, and then I opened up myself. So that's how my journey went through, with a lot of dilemmas, a lot of anxieties, and a lot of commitment. And finally, at this moment, when we look at the South Asian region, um, the the minorities are in India, Muslims and Pasamada Muslims, and Christians, Dalit Christians, and different sexual orientation people of these communities. So they are oppressed. They don't know what is they have to say. How South Asian minorities are not able to reach up to the mechanisms of international human rights mechanisms, and how hard the struggle that which we have to do for an incident to raise up in the international level. It is taking so much of time, and so much of pain, so much of grief we are carrying in our hearts. So, and there are international mechanisms which are there in recognizing, in identifying who are the minorities, who are the South Asian minorities, who are Dalits, who are subcastes, including what kind of privileges, how untouchability has evolved in South Asia, and it's continuing at a global level in terms of discriminating someone from lower caste. So that kind of a scenario we are living in, and if, added to that, the kind of governance systems that in the last 10 years that emerged, the right-wing governance systems, which are again taking us back into medieval levels of governance. And with this lot of happening, I was just wondering whether we can have our task fulfilled in getting the international community in realizing the Dalit rights are human rights, the South Asian minority rights are human rights. So that is the kind of a journey I am into. And at this, in this level, we have touched upon the different kind of mechanisms that existed in the United Nations. The minorities rights minority rights groups, the Dalit, the UN women's group, the UN girls group, everywhere they were saying that they will hear us, but when it represent us in the United Nations, they will decline us. And at that moment, we have to understand the mechanisms of the UN system, and we have to get into the each space by our own leadership, by our own struggle. So, where in 2000 there was an event started happening in Durban, World Conference on Racism and Xenophobia. Into that meeting, that built up the momentum for the, having a Dalit rights as a human rights coin. That was the word that the coin at the United Nations level. And the United Nations recognizes us, the Dalits or the minorities, South Asian minorities, by work and descent-based discrimination. So these two words are very delicate, but at the same time, they carry a lot of weight in terms of addressing international human rights laws. So in this journey, we have also gathered at the global level, which are the communities in different countries facing caste-based discrimination, like in India, like in South Asia, because the origin of caste is South Asia. So then a lot of groups started coming in different parts of different worlds, and who are advocating for their own rights. And that's how Global Level Forum for Work and Descent-Based Discrimination was initiated. So with that journey, we are at a crossroads of realizing Dalit human rights or South Asian minority human rights. Because the right-wing groups are coming up to the fore. Now, even yesterday, one of our High Court judges went into a right-wing party as a speaker, and there he was talking about how the majority religion will play a longer role, and how uniform civil rights, civil code will come into effect. What is the importance of it? So we were ashamed because the High Court judge who has to drive by the Constitution, and Constitution gives us the laws, which is a beautiful Constitution. India is the only one which has a beautiful Constitution, and into that is the level of that they're functioning. So we are at a crossroads, and we are jumping from one step to in realizing how great our effort should be, how great our struggle should be, how great our leader should be, how great our voice should be, how great our knowledge should be. And when it comes to knowledge, I just wonder what will happen when there is no knowledge of subcaste, caste was not there. It's simple. It's simple, huh? It's because of the knowledge we have to gain knowledge of countering it, of annihilation it, of undoing of untouchability. So this is how the South Asian minorities are being discriminated or facing the discrimination continuously, and even the atrocities are also getting visualized. The incidents are being put up on WhatsApp videos, the live videos. Somebody beating a minority guy, somebody oppressing a minority person, somebody oppressing the culture of a minority persons. So all those things are with the technology, latest technology, it has brought out very visualizing. And each time when we take up that incident, the government will look at it and it will deny very practically. Once the video evidence is there, then they'll tell some other story, and then they record the FIR. But whether it will go to the justice level, we don't know. And a lot of cases will not see the justice level. And at this moment, and we realized we have to be talking as sub-communities, communities. Each sub-community should be talking to another sub-community of what is the real person is. Because we have seen the international advocacy, the local level advocacy, at the mandal level advocacy, the village level advocacy, have not established the Dalit human rights, the minorities' human rights. So, another way of how we can address this is by having an equity groups at each village level or hamlet level, or from hamlet level to village level, from panchayat level. So like that, we have to build another movement with the communities who are being discriminated and whose voice is not being heard at the international communities, but they can speak with their local level, and they can address their local level issues, and they can talk about equality, equity at the local level. Then only our anguish, our grief will be recognized as we are representing our grief at this international community. So with that, I'll close my speech. But the kind of steps that are needed is this kind of a churning has to happen whenever an incident. It's not even incident. We need to get into some kind of an process in which, like the Truth and Reconciliation process of South Africa, where between the blacks and whites there was a lot of negotiations that have to take place, and it was the program was coined. So that's how they used to get healed. So this healing process has to happen in the South Asian minorities also, where it can be possible if we address it with a healing intention. And with that healing intention, the recognizing of a human being as a human being will evolve. Will evolve and will sustain. This will only this way. This way is one of the ways we can sustain our human dignity, our level of talking, our level of intellectuality, our level of incidents of dehumanization happening in the country and around the world. It's also happening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie Martin, for sharing your journey and reality, your deep understanding of grassroots activism and the intersection of caste and gender-based violence highlights the importance of localized effort in shaping international human rights framework. We are fortunate to hear your perspective today on this crucial topic. So this is the end. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you for your valuable insight. Your presentation has provided us a deep understanding of challenges that minority communities faced in India and in South Asia, and how the international human rights mechanism can be leveraged to address these issues. I also want to thank you for joining us today on such a short notice. So let's take forward the discussion from today, advocating for the protection and promotion for human rights for all. Until next time, take care and continue to stand for human rights. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Take care.